Hi, and welcome to Cosmic Prayer this week. I am very excited and feeling blessed and so grateful to be here, especially with the super guest that is waiting backstage to come on to the Cosmic Prayer this week. Of course, you are here watching through New Thought Media Network. We are a global focus ministry, Center for Spiritual Living focus ministry, shining the light with programming and broadcasts that these new thought, ancient wisdom, and of course, quantum science teachings to our lives on a daily basis. And the Cosmic Prayer is one of these broadcasts. We've been going for 2 years. Wow. 2 years of conversation around spiritual mind treatment or prayer or this way of connecting and communing with the divine. Different guests each week coming on. And this week, our super guest is Reverend Cindy Edelson. She's a graduate of the Michael Bernard School of Ministry at Agape International and a Center for Spiritual Minister at Agape Bay Area. Reverend Cindy lives in the Bay Area with her wife, Bron, and their two 11-pound bundles of, I love that, Snowy and Poppy. I hear from them during the show. Began her spiritual quest at the young age of 17 and followed her heart and attended art school in San Francisco, and years later was introduced to New Thought wisdom. Thank goodness Reverend Cindy followed her heart. She's been a spiritual counselor for over 19 years, and first through CSL and then the Heart Space teachings in San Jose. Reverend Cindy is currently a staff minister at Agape and has ministerial duties at Agape International. Wow. And Reverend Cindy is an energy codes master trainer and facilitator. Reverend Cindy has birthed ministries, letting it flow, which we will be talking about definitely. And for this, I'm really excited. Reverend Cindy has a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and has really opened her heart to these spiritual teachings and practices that she lives her life by. So let's bring on Reverend Cindy Edelson and welcome you to the Cosmic Prayer. Welcome. So great to be here with you today. Thank you for being here.
It's wonderful to be here with you today. I'm so excited.
I am excited too, as I didn't realize that you had taken your ministerial education through Agape with Dr. Michael Beckwith, and wow, that must have been an incredible experience to be in that energy and consciousness and to learn from him.
Absolutely. I knew when I took my practitioner training over 20 years ago that the next step was to become a minister. It took me a while to actually get there. And I knew I had friends in Holmes Institute and I had friends going through Agape. And I witnessed both sets of friends. And it was clear to me I wanted that mystical experience at Agape. So that's why I went through that training. And it feels really good as well to come home and be a Center for Spiritual Living minister now. So full circle, here I am.
Beautiful. And knowing that we are one and there is one. And so really it's all one, which is perfect. It's perfect for you to have learned that way and then come back to CSL. And so, Reverend Cindy, you know, this program really is, this show is, the focus is prayer. And you're interested to hear more of your idea of what prayer really is. What does it mean for you?
Right. So in order to speak about that, I have to talk a little bit about my background in growing up. And that is that I am Jewish. And as a very little girl, I went to an Orthodox synagogue where the men sat in one section and the women sat in the other section. And every little tidbit was in Hebrew. So there was lots of prayers going on. and I didn't understand a word of it. So my experience of being Jewish as a little kid was more that I got to be with my family, with my grandmother, who I fondly call Bubby, and my grandfather, who I call Zeta, and all of those friends. And I just remember having to get dressed up in tights and black, slick, shiny shoes and going through the pew while all my grandmother's friends pinched my cheeks and, welcomed me. And so there was a warm feeling about going, in that I got a lot of love there, but I didn't get prayer. I didn't understand. As I got older and my grandmother passed on and we went to a more reformed synagogue, it wasn't 100% in Hebrew. So I started to understand the teachings, but still the prayers were in Hebrew. But I'm going to say this. The one thing that I understood about Judaism is oneness. And most prayers in Hebrew start Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu. Mm-hmm. And that means blessed is the oneness that makes us holy.
Yes.
So I really resonated with that thought, with that idea. I didn't necessarily know how to articulate it. So I'm going to fast forward now to being the ripe young age of 17, to when I bumped into I call her my spiritual Eskimo. Again, a Jewish woman I met in the San Fernando Valley of the Los Angeles area. Wow. She was something special. She was definitely had roots in her Judaism, but she was a metaphysical wonder. And she was into numerology and metaphysics and angels and lighthouses. And my friends rented a room at her home. And I was always fascinated when I went to go visit my friends. And one day I was driving around and I wanted to go see her. Her name is Frida. And I drove up and my friends weren't home, and she opened the door and she said, "Oh, honey, your friends are not here." And I said, "It's okay. I'm here to see you." And she said, "Oh, of course, come in. I'll make you a tea." And she talked to me about meditation. She talked to me about prayer. She talked to me about angels. And you know what? At that moment, it was going vroom, vroom, right over my head. But I knew in my heart there was truth being said and being taught to me. I didn't really get it. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about Frida in a few minutes, but because she was an integral part of my spiritual journey and my growth. So I'm going to fast forward again, and that is in my, late 30s, walking into Center for Spiritual Living in San Jose, California. Now, this is after Frida started me on my spiritual journey, and yet I didn't know that there was a philosophy. I didn't know there was a community that thought the way I thought. An organization. I didn't know any of that, and a friend invited me to this center. Well, she'd say center or church. She'd kind of flip-flop there. To get me there, she called it center. So I walked in, and it was Halloween weekend. So of course, Reverend David was dressed as a pumpkin. And our singer that day was dressed as Dorothy. And I sat down, and I'm, intrigued, first of all, by their outfits. But the moment they started singing and bringing the word forth, I knew I was home. I knew I was home. And the way they prayed, oh my God, not only could I feel it, I could understand it. And
yes.
I was hooked. I was hooked. I had no idea what I really walked into, but I signed up for everything, for everything I could sign up for. The thing that I really wanted to know most about was, it seemed like they had a way of praying that was organized in such a way that anybody could understand. And I also, even though I didn't understand that it was called affirmative prayer, actually back then, 20 years ago, they called it prayer treatment. I think over the years, it's kind of changed to affirmative prayer. So I went into the foundations class and learned the steps of prayer. And from that point on, I knew that this was a part of my life that I couldn't deny, that I wanted to study. It was all I wanted to talk about. It was the people that I wanted to be around. And I can tell you this, at those early years, even though intellectually I understood the steps of prayer, I hadn't had my own embodiment experience of prayer. I believe, you know, I know so many amazingly intelligent beings, and that can, in a conversation, pull out a quote from a book or a movie that they've seen, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And at the same time, I don't know that they've all had the embodiment experience of what they're saying.
Right.
It's everybody's journey is different, right? But for me,
Yes.
I'm less scholarly in the being able to do that sense, pull out a quote. For me, just the way I've shown up in this life is that the way I get something and know something is by having an experience of it. So let me tell you my first experience of prayer where I really got it. And it's not a life shattering thing that happened, but it was life shattering in that I finally could understand how powerful prayer is. The piece that is the most important for me is the feeling behind the prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all kinds of lovely, flowery, deep, and mystical words in a prayer. But if the feeling, if your heart and soul isn't behind those words, it's just words.
Yeah.
So I was,
Yes.
have you had that experience too, Laura?
Oh, well, I don't want to take away from what you're saying, because that question that you're asking me is a big question with a big answer. And so
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, and I'm not going to elaborate on it because I'm really wanting you to continue.
Okay.
So my
So
answer is yes, in a kind of concise way. Yeah.
wonderful. So here I am. I did a deep dive when I found Science of Mind, and I was working for a company that sent me traveling a lot, and I was in Chicago, and okay, so you heard a little bit in my bio. I have different ministries, and one of them happens to be called Letting It Flow. And what you need to know about me is that I'm an artist. I was born into this lifetime as an artistic person, very visual. And Van Gogh is one of my favorite artists. So I was in Chicago at a business meeting, and the hotel I was staying at had a poster in the elevator of a Gauguin Van Gogh retrospective at the Chicago Art Institute. And every morning I'd step into that elevator and my soul would just go, yes, that's what I want to do. And the date that the show was starting was, I was leaving the day before. So I'd step into the elevator and my soul would be screaming, yes, you're going to go see this. And I'd go into prayer about it. And I didn't know how it was going to outpicture, had no idea. So I went to, I had my bag with me because it was the last day of this business meeting. And I checked out of the hotel. I went to the meeting. And as we're finishing the meeting, this is after 3 hours, they looked at me and they said, Cindy, we really want to do this project, but we don't want to wait. Can you come back on these dates? And they presented me with these dates, and instantly I flashed to the poster in the elevator. And I knew that these dates were within the show. And I'm like, of course I can. Yes, I can. I will be here. So the reason I say that,
I just love how it works.
and the bottom line for me is it was really the first time it was a visceral feeling about so wanting to be at the Chicago Art Institute to view this show and to experience this retrospective. It was palpable within my soul. It wasn't something in my mind. It was in my heart and my soul. It was pulling me to be there. So of course this company was going to be the way. I didn't even have to know the way. And isn't that the truth about prayer? We don't have to know how or why. We don't. It like the visioning process. We don't have to know those things. If we can keep ourselves steeped in that vibrational field, that feeling tone, that emotional field, what it feels like to have answered prayer, you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah.
So let me go back for a moment with my spiritual Eskimo, Frida. And this is how my life, Frida Amsel. And this is how my life has been. I've, been on my path since I was 17 because of Frida and Terry Cole Whitaker, but that's another story. But not only did Frida invite me into her home that day and teach me about meditation and write down books that I need to read, which some of them were reading that we had to do for our training at CSL. But Frida looked at me and said, I know you. And I said, okay. And we started comparing notes. She is from Canada. My parents are from Canada. She's from Montreal. My mom lived in Montreal. I called up my mom. She was at work that day. And I said, Mom, do you know this name, Amsel? And she got kind of silent and quiet. And she said, well, yes. And I said, how do we know that name? She said, well, the Amsel family raised your Bubby. And I was like, what? Now, when you're talking Los Angeles, you know how many people live in Los Angeles? Here is the granddaughter of the people that raised my Bubby.
Your grandfather.
My no, my
It's incredible.
it
Your
so
grandmother.
my grandmother, yeah. So my grandmother came from a family of 12 children, very orthodox family. And the mother, her mother passed away. And her father was an Orthodox rabbi. So what did he do? He took a new young wife. And the kids that were old enough to go take care of themselves sent them away. The kids that weren't old enough, back in those days, there weren't orphanages per se. They would go to families that owned businesses so that these children can help them. So my grandmother worked in a yarn shop for the Ansels, but they didn't treat her just like a worker. They treated her like a daughter because they loved her so much. In fact, my aunt is named after the woman that treated her so beautifully, Ruth. So why did that story come out? Because that's how life is when you're open, when your heart is open, when you're following your spiritual path, when you're saying yes
Yes.
to what you're being pulled by. Um, you know, as as a teenager and a youngster, I really benefited from learning the steps of prayer. I really benefited from understanding who I am as a being of light and love. I really benefited from really having those embodiment experiences of oneness, and it not just being a theory in my head. Um, I can't imagine any other way of living than the lifestyle I live with. God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, is the foremost feature of who I am that I honor on a daily basis. And how do I honor God on a daily basis? I pray every day. I pray when I wake up. I pray over my food. I pray when people call me and say, I need a prayer today. I pray
Yes.
for myself when I'm getting in a tizzy about seemingly too much to do, too much on my plate. Um, and what comes from that? First of all, it settles me down. So, something interesting between Agape and CSL is Agape added another step to prayer. I don't know if you all know this.
Yes.
They added
Gratitude.
gratitude in the beginning.
Beginning.
And
In the
it's
beginning.
interesting because I think once I graduated from practitioner studies, and they ingrain it in us, you guys, don't they? What the steps are. Once I graduated and I felt like I had a little more freedom because they knew that I knew the proper way to pray, I found myself always being grateful before I jumped into recognition, recognizing that God is all there is, right? And then when I went
Yeah.
to Agape Ministerial School, I realized, oh, okay, that's just the natural progression. That's just how they do it there. I didn't have to change anything about how I prayed because, well, like you said, Laura, there's only one. There's only one. So maybe they're called by different names, CSL, Agape. There's only one. And I I believe that by putting gratitude first, it I call it this. I call it setting the table. It sets the table so that no matter what point I'm starting from, because let me tell you, folks, sometimes I pray because it's so good, and sometimes I pray because there's something going on that feels
Yes.
dramatic. And that energy space of whatever drama is happening is not where I want to pray from. So by me putting in my gratitude first, it helps set the place. It helps ground me. It helps center me so that the moment I utter God's name, I am in alignment with the truth. So.
Oh, Reverend Cindy, there's so much here. I want to breathe this in and just kind of take everything that you've said so far, because it's incredible and it's beautiful. And I'm just feeling the feeling from you of this authenticity of having that connection with connection, that it's not simply reading the words or saying it by rote or trying to say the most elaborate sentences and quotes. And I'm similar to you with that. I have a recall challenge with quotes, and I wish I was one of those that could have Ernest Holmes quotes on the tip of my tongue, or Jesus is the master teacher's quotes on the tip of my tongue. I'm not that person.
Right.
I will 90% probably get it wrong. So, and yet the feeling is feeling it, then I know I'm not there. I'm somewhere else. I'm not in that zone connected, because the embodied experience is where I feel prayer is so powerful, where I am in that experience first and foremost, and then whatever I'm saying is going to be true and right, because I'm feeling it.
Yes, exactly. So Greg Braden has a wonderful book called The Secret Mode of Prayer. I think that's the title of it. And in the book, so I'm just going to be paraphrasing, not quoting exactly, but he tells the story.
What's the book? What's the name of the book? Sorry, I missed that piece.
The Secret Mode of Prayer by Greg Braden.
The Secret Mode of Prayer. Okay, yes. I'm going to write a banner for that and put that up here.
Yes. And he tells a story about he met up with a shaman, and they were in this part of the world where there hadn't been rain, and the shaman wanted to take him on this hike, on this journey to pray for rain. And they hiked and they hiked and they hiked and they hiked. It was quite a trek. It was quite a journey. And they got there and they ended up, and there was this sacred circle. And so they get to the sacred circle, and the shaman didn't do a whole lot of anything. It was like maybe a few moments, right? And the shaman looks at him and said, "Okay, we're done here." And Greg's like, "Wait, what? we trekked all this way and we're done already?" He said, "Yep, I can feel it. We're done. We're on it. We need to go back now." So they trek all the way back, and they did get their rain. But what Greg says about this experience is that's when he realized that it had nothing to do per se with the ritual. What it had to do with the feeling that, just like you said, yes, Laura, it's not about the words and about us remembering these fantastic quotes from these mystics. It's about feeling it and knowing it. Sometimes with people that are new on this journey, I like to direct them to Abraham Hicks, because
absolutely,
the law of attraction is powerful, and what Abraham always teaches is that you have to come from that emotional, vibrational part of you that already has what you're praying for. Because if you're praying, yes, from lack, the universe doesn't know the difference and you're going to get more lack. But if you're praying from having it already, having that joy, having that freedom, having that experience of having it, then more is to be had. So, yes, I've thrown a lot of different names in there. But it all goes back.
I just want to pick up on that, what you're saying right now, because what's coming off me is we can pray. I can pray thinking that I'm coming from that place of being that vibrational match. And I could be saying the words that maybe mimic that. And yet inside of me, I could be feeling that lack.
Yes.
And so that's me in a house, a creative law, not knowing which way to serve me, because I think that's where sometimes we're in a place of just being as they are and not shifting, because the words and the verbiage, and yet the feeling doesn't match, and so we're a house divided.
Yes. Yeah, house divided brings you to this center place of limbo, being in limbo. So that's why when people say, well, I keep praying for the same thing, why isn't it happening? You know, well,
right.
Look at where your come from is. You know, where is your come from? It's very important to have that self-awareness. The other thing about that dawns on me is when we have the awareness that we might not be coming from the place of having, we're still coming from that place of lack. You know, don't get down on yourself when you recognize that's where you've been. You know, be gentle and grateful that you get it. You know, it's just so important. I've
because
say that once again.
Back here, isn't there? There's a time like because that awareness is key. That having that awareness is kind of the prayer working. Wake us up to say, be more aware, be more awake. Yeah.
Yes. That's like when people are coming to me as a counselor and saying, well, you know, I really want my garage to be clean and organized, but I'm really not willing. I'm really not willing to do the work. And I say, great. Let's pray for willingness. Let's not pray for a clean garage, because you already know you're not willing. Let's pray for the willingness.
Yeah. Yes.
You have to start where you are.
Have to start where you are. I love that. I have that written down. I look at it every day. Start where you are, Laura.
Yeah, start where you are. My other thing that I've been focusing on lately is you know, in the world of multitasking, which I think a lot of people get caught into, especially women, I notice, is my new mantra to myself is, there's only one thing happening, Cindy. There's only one thing happening here. Just do that one thing. So, and then when I say it in that way with those words, it reminds me of there's only one thing happening here, and that's God's life, and that's my life. So,
wow, that's so powerful. I love you pull that together, because we can only focus on one thing at a time. It's so true, that, isn't it? And
yes,
there's a universal, there's like a collective agenda to get things done quickly and to get things done speedily, and the more you do, the better you are. And it's this message which I think comes back to, if I'm just me, I'm not enough.
And we so are. We are. We are spectacular beings of light and love. I've quote this often because this is one thing I do remember from a book, is that the chances of us being incarnated into these bodies of ours is 1 out of 400 trillion.
Yes.
Don't tell me that you were here, called to be here on purpose, for a purpose. Because the mere fact that we're alive and walking on this path tells me that there's an importance in you showing up, in me showing up, in everybody showing up, just to be alive. We are answering the call that life pulled us into these bodies. So if we can just remember that's our purpose.
Yes. And if you're watching this right now, you're with me and Reverend Cindy Edelson, who is a minister at Agape Bay Area. And what Reverend Cindy has just said is, please take this on board. How magnificent we each are, how we are truly children of the divine, how we are here, not by accident, not by chance, on purpose. We're here on purpose. And I think for me, the more I can say that to myself every day, the more I'm living in that prayer that is the divine communion. Like being in that. Thomas Troward talked about the first stage of spiritual mind treatment being, to connect with the connection, and then to connect. Why do you think we have, for a lot of people, there's a block with that communion part of actually discovering that relationship with the divine?
Right. I think it's really easy to buy into that universal mind that society wants to label everything good or bad, wants to say, like you said earlier, that you're only, fulfilling your purpose if you're producing, if you're productive. It gets very conditional out there in the world, and the truth is that we are unconditional beings of love and light, and if we can turn off the news and hang out with the people that know who they are and can remind you of who you are, you can get past that hurdle. It's I like to equate it like this: is there's this recording going on. It's here. It's in the atmosphere. Since there's only one, I like these days, I call it the divine matrix. There's one divine matrix. We're all connected. Yeah. And within that matrix is a record of conditionality, of brokenness, of tragedy, of challenges. And if we get stuck in those grooves, in our mind, it can feel really hard to skip that groove. So we get to practice our practice, not only prayer, but meditation, study, service, giving. If we can practice our practices, we can actually get out of that groove. And I know for myself, I'm one of those people that I learn by doing. So I make sure that I surround myself with people that that I look up to. And they might be friends and family, they might be other ministers, they might be practitioners, they might be little children, but I look up to them because I recognize in them that they know who they are. You know, they don't talk down to themselves, and if they have a moment of humanness, which we all do, they catch it immediately. So I am very diligent about what I take in, my nutrition, not just food wise, as far as media. What I take in is very important, and who I take it in with, who I surround myself with.
Right.
So, it's never too late. And if you feel like you've been working on it forever, you just keep moving forward and surround yourself with your community. Community is a spiritual practice as well. You know, here we are coming out of this COVID virtual world, and what has it brought? For many people, it has brought more connection rather than less connection. At Agape Bay Area, our classes now include people from all over the world instead of just the Bay Area. How magnificent is that? So when we all went into shutdown mode, we had a choice to isolate or reach out in the way we could reach out. And for so many people, I know it was a very, very difficult time. And for so many people, I know that it transformed their life and what they do. So, for example, back to me being an artist, I used to only do paint parties in person. And in 2020 and 2021, sometimes I would do 2 to 4 paint parties a day because I was doing it online. I didn't have to pack up my paints and go to the place.
And travel.
Right. It was pretty darn magnificent. I really enjoyed it. And I have to admit, I did enjoy that I only had to clean up after myself and not everyone else. But I really enjoyed the process. And I feel like people got just as much of me virtually as they would in person, and maybe even more, because sometimes if there was a lot of people at the party, not everyone could see or hear, but this evened out the playing field. So so much. I just get that the universe is for us.
So much. And so much came from COVID, as you were saying that, you know, from that experience of COVID, that this is how New Thought Media Network was birthed with a prayer at the beginning of COVID. So we're here connecting like this. Maybe not. This is why, for this particular, you know, this reason that we're here right now, it's on New Thought Media Network, which happened during COVID. It came about because of that, because of this need for us to connect with each other and be in community and share together and not feel isolated. And I think you're so right that when we're together, that's like a living, breathing prayer, being together and enjoying this lifted vibration or frequency together is so important for me. It's so important.
Yes.
That we're not here alone. I'm not here on my own. I am individualized, and yet I'm part of everything. And this is the celebration, isn't it? To celebrate this. Well, for me, it is.
It so is.
So
it so is.
And I think that comes back to because my Jewish roots, I can speak for myself, where there was a lot of celebrating and a lot of oneness together, and there's always food, and it's always like, okay, food are we going to have with this ritual? What food are we going to have to mark this occasion? And most of it was about the food.
Absolutely.
If the food wasn't right, kind of the ritual didn't happen in the way it was meant to. It is always about this gathering together and breaking bread together and being the living, breathing there together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one thing I did always respect and enjoy about Judaism was that togetherness. The holidays that the family were together. When my grandmother was still with us, we got together every Friday night for Shabbat dinner. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a very fond memory, and it is a living, breathing prayer within me, because it just like expands and explodes my heart in so many ways to think of all those family dinners, all those Shabbat dinners with my bubby, and we would always do our prayers and break bread, have a piece of challah and send it around the room. And,
Yeah.
it's a very,
Yeah.
very special time. And it is, it's so right. Community is such a huge part of spiritual practice, and if you're not at a place that has a community, it doesn't matter. These days, you're here with us on the
Yeah.
Cosmic
You're
Prayer.
here. Exactly.
Right, right.
Welcome.
Welcome in. It's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Welcome
I'm
in.
I'm grateful for you. Thank you for saying yes to your call to bring this to everybody, and the amazing, magnificent work that you're doing. I looked you up and was
I
looking at
love doing
shows.
this.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, Laura is fantastic. And now that I've got to spend time with you, I'm
Oh.
really hooked. I'm going to make sure I tell everybody what's going on here and to tune in.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Cindy. Yes, please do. I mean, Reverend Joan has been on the Cosmic Prayer, and Reverend Verona has been on the Cosmic Prayer. So, Agape Bay Area, you're welcome here. We love you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
And I'm really enjoying experiencing this conversation with you, Reverend Cindy, that you shine and what you bring, and your understanding, your sharing of prayer and the embodiment, and just exciting me, and I'm sure the viewers, to really embody our lives and to get into a place and feeling of life, knowing that we are here on purpose and that we're here to really enjoy every moment. And that doesn't mean a spiritual bypass. That doesn't mean not acknowledging what we see, and we can remain lifted in the midst of it all to shine that light out. And I would like to ask you, because we have just a few minutes left before the next programming comes on, which is practical prayer. If there's one that you could say, or a couple of things that you could share before we leave here, for people that are watching, if they are feeling that they're not feeling it,
Right.
how could you maybe just give that kind of insight to, well, this could be a step to feeling it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've talked a lot about my bubby, my grandmother. And if I'm ever at a place where I'm not feeling the love, and I always want to do everything making sure that my heart is open and that I'm feeling love, all I have to do is just close my eyes and feel what it felt like to be hugged by her. That hug that I got from my bubby was overflowing with unconditional love. And I can do that with most things. So let's say I'm praying for, let's say I'm praying for abundance because I want to go to Hawaii. I've had the fortunate experience of being in Hawaii, so I can close my eyes and just feel how amazing it feels to be snorkeling with the fish. How amazing it feels to be in that sunshine and that clear water, in that land of aloha, where they're just so welcoming. And once I really connect with that, feel it, and keep feeling it, then I can enter into my prayer time. Because that's the vibrational field I want to start from. Not wanting, hoping, praying, pleading, of already having that feeling.
Yes.
It's a superpower that we all have.
Would you lead us into a spiritual mind treatment?
Absolutely. Happy to.
Yes.
So, I like to start with a nice deep breath. And I'm going to start the way I always start, with gratitude. Grateful, grateful, grateful for the cosmic prayer. Grateful for Laura saying yes to her calling. Grateful for this technology that brings us together. So grateful to know that there is only one power, one presence, one love. One that has many names and many faces. One that in this moment I call God. God, God, and only God, everywhere, everything, every moment, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. That power and presence in the stars in the sky, and every grain of sand on the beach and the desert, in every leaf on every tree, on every beautiful flower and bloom, every bee, every animal, every sentient being, everything has these, what I call God particles. Even the seats, the chairs, the couches, the cars, the places that we sit upon. It's all God. It came from that idea that was created for us to be here together. God, God, and only God. So in this moment of knowing that there is only one, we know that that we are here as the emanation, the experience, the expression of that power and presence. I know that I am the I am. I am one with the one. I am filled and overflowing with this power and presence here and now. I know the same truth for Laura, for all the guests, for everyone that hears this prayer, that has experienced this show and beyond. It doesn't matter whether it's now or later in a recording. You are one with the one. You are power, presence. You are love. You are magnificent. You are filled and overflowing with these God particles. Every atom, every cell, every organ, every breath, every connection. That is you. And as you bring that you, that truth of who you are, into every situation today and beyond, you can never take a misstep. There's no right or wrong in this place, in this space of God. There's only the way, and the way always, always, always shows up as the perfect step for you in this moment, for you to know yourself as the magnificent, expanded being that you are, right here and right now. There's no waiting in God's time. There's only the now, and in this now moment, you are fully orbed. There's nothing broken, nothing to fix, only magnificent light and love. I see it, and I feel it, and I know it. And I claim it for each and every soul within earshot of this prayer. You are a powerful being of love and light. And you bring that love and light into everything that you do, today and all days. And with this truly magnificent life that you have, that you've been given this chance to be alive and awake, you spread it. It's like the ripple effect on the pond. Your pebble has gone into the pond, and your light and your love is just spreading all over this beautiful globe and beyond. So for this, I am grateful. I am grateful to know you. I'm grateful to know that we are one with the one. We are connected in that beautiful divine matrix. So thank you, Mother, Father, God, oneness, God, for answered prayer. Prayer is the way today and every day, and I release it. I release it into the law, knowing, as it is said, it's already done. And please say with me, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
My
beautiful
blessing.
Thank you, Reverend Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here and for shining your light and really just enlightening and sharing. And I'm just feeling so great, so filled up. I'm here in the UK and you're there in California. And it's just beautiful to be able to connect like this and have this abundance of technology that's bringing us together and sharing like this. And I'm just feeling so grateful that you've come onto the Cosmic Prayer today. And for those that are watching, and we comment here that I'm going to pop up. If you're watching here, yes, Zoe. Hello, Zoe. Welcome. Zoe has his show here on the prayer. And there we are. Thank you for being here, Zoe, and for being present with us today. It's great to be with you.
Yes.
And of course, Reverend Cindy, you are at Agape Bay Area Center for Spiritual Living. So people can find you there if you're in the area, and visit Agape Bay Area and be in the presence of Reverend Cindy and Reverend Verona and Reverend Joan and their community, their beloved community. I'm sure that you're going to absolutely love it. If I were there, I'd be with you.
Wonderful. Well, I'm speaking this Sunday, and it's live in person. So just look up agapebayarea.com and you'll see what's going on. If you're here, come get a hug.
Oh, that would be, what time is it that you're speaking?
We start
Pacific
meditation
time.
Yeah, Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Pacific for meditation, and 11 a.m. Pacific the service begins.
Fantastic. And you are actually speaking truth.
I'll be speaking this Sunday.
I love that.
But we rotate. So whatever week you come, it's a wonderful week because it's Reverend Verona, Reverend Joan, and myself.
And then oh, wow. That's amazing. And so I really want to share that New Thought Media Network is a Center for Spiritual Living, global focus ministry, sharing programming like this every single day of the week, including Christmas Day and holidays and Ramadan and Yom Kippur and all of it. We're here shining our light and sharing this truth for ourselves and for others to elevate and unfold into the knowing of who we are as love. And so we do have a website which actually has just been is being recreated at the moment. Robert Brinsky is recreating our website, which is looking amazing. And we also have a beautiful, juicy donate button on that website. So for those of you that feel absolutely in love with this teaching, and if it's filling you up, then be a part of our vision, share with us, and be woven into the consciousness of the yes of this great vision for this network to bring these teachings to others around the world. So there's the donate button for that. And again, Reverend Cindy, thank you for being here.
My blessing. Thank you for asking me to come join you and play in this cosmic prayer field.
Fantastic. Stay tuned in the network. We have practical prayer right now coming up in a few seconds. Until next week from the Cosmic Prayer. Bye, everyone.